No, you could wait, right? There's no delay on that, I don't think. Just give it a minute. At 7 o'clock, you can then just let me know. Guys, it's live streamed already, okay? Well, he started, just so you know. Your mic, if you're not, if you're on, okay. Mine is the only one.
Camera's back there. You're looking,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
watching you, see, it's over there, that's what but this isn't being live streamed, this is only being recorded.
Recorded, okay.
It is being live streamed.
Oh, it is being live streamed?
Yes, sir. He
Oh,
just started.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
All right.
Yeah, but people are watching can't call in and talk to us.
Yeah, it's not a
That's
hybrid
right, they
form.
can't interact with us.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they haven't figured out how to.
Okay, can you start recording? We good?
Not yet, hold on. You have to record first before you live stream, or you can't even get it to record? You wanna help?
Hey Jerry, how's it going? Ryan, how's everything?
Hey, Dimitri, long time no see.
Yeah, I see you more than you see me, if you believe it or not.
That's a bad thing.
Today we watch you in person.
Sweating bullets, yeah? Pardon us, we're trying to get the recording to work and the live stream to work. It's important because secretary takes your notes. It's recording?
It says that's recording. I did sit next to the
See, it doesn't say it? Oh, it says it is, or?
It says it's recording, but
Can
but
you
it,
tell whether it's streaming?
No, I don't have that up.
hold on, we'll see if it's live streaming. No internet.
I don't have internet.
check.
see
Is it
if
on,
it's
is it
live
on,
streaming? He can't, he doesn't have the internet.
it's on the it's Homedale Township website?
Oh, it's live streaming.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay, I apologize, folks. We're having some technical difficulties. We're so used to Zoom, but it's been, I guess, at least 3 months or so. But it's now 7:04. We're going to call this meeting to order. Counselor, if you could read the Open Public Meetings Act notice and then take a roll call, please.
Certainly. I hereby announce that pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the notice which was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall and filed in the Township Clerk's office. Now for a roll call, Commissioner Burke,
Here.
Commissioner Buffalino,
Here.
Commissioner Gilstein,
Here.
Vice Chair Castning,
Here.
Chair Kinji.
Here. So we got quorum. This meeting is called to order. If you could please stand, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence to honor troops here and abroad that serve us each and every day. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes for the February 3rd meeting. Can I get a motion and a second for that, please?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes are now adopted and they will be posted on the Homedale Township website. So tonight, we posted we're going to have a public hearing and we're going to do that. I'd like to do is make a few comments before we start. This weekend, some of you may or may not gotten some texts, and if you've been reading some posts on social media and so on, you might reach the conclusion that the somehow that the Charter Study Commission have released or given the order to release the Kraken, and that Homedale will be destroyed. You know, if you read through a lot of stuff, there's things that talked about, I don't know, conspiracy, there's innuendos and so on, but exactly how Homedale is destroyed is not clear. If you cut through the rhetoric, it doesn't really describe that. I don't know whether they're gonna defunk the police or shut down Bayshore Hospital or whatever, but I just want to make absolutely clear that the commission has not made any recommendations. And if and when we do make the recommendations, they will be in a report formally filed. And ultimately, those recommendations will be subject to approval or disapproval by all Homedale residents. Since day one, the commission has announced a three-phase process. Phase one, to study the township committee, which is the current form of government. That was completed in February. We interviewed lots of elected officials. Collectively, they served more than 60 years on the township committee, including more than 20 years as mayor. We had a public hearing on February 3rd. Phase two, we transitioned into exploring the alternate forms of government. We had presentations by 2 experts on the various forms that could be considered. We heard from experts from New Jersey's unique ballot design and the line. Oh, before I forget, in the back, if you walked in the table, if you haven't seen it, Commissioner Gilstein had put together a nice summary of the current Homedale Township Committee form of government, and 2 of the major forms, the key characteristics and things like that, all in one nice page. In addition, we interview elected officials that currently operate under the various alternate forms of government within Monmouth County. That includes mayor, council, council manager, mayor elected directly or not, elections held on a partisan and nonpartisan basis. This public hearing is to receive comments on what you heard as part of phase two. In the next phase, we'll begin deliberation, discussions, and make some decisions and recommendations. A formal report will then be drafted and submitted to the Homedale clerk. The Charter Study Commission at that point would be formally in our statutory mandate. And at that point, there's no further involvement from the Charter Study Commission. There's also no involvement from the Township Committee, because that report would then trigger a series of action steps, which will ultimately lead to a referendum where the Homedale voters will then vote to approve or disapprove the recommendations made by the Charter Study Commission. The commission has, had a public comment sessions at the end of all our meetings from day one, even though it didn't need to. The hope was to get constructive public input. Instead, some have used the opportunity to ask questions like, whose idea is the Charter Study Commission? I don't know, is the answer. It wasn't mine. First time I found out was when it appeared on the agenda on the Township Committee in July. But more importantly, it's not relevant in terms of what we're trying to do. A series of things have been triggered. The Township Committee introduced an ordinance to decide whether the Charter Commission would be on the ballot as a public question. It was then went to a final adoption, or in public meetings, legally adopted. The ordinance then got placed a public question on the November ballot. More than 6,000 people voted on it. After the official election results were tabulated and announced, the commission was formed. So things happened at that point. So this is last year's kind of election issues. Another question: why were there only 5 candidates that ran unopposed last November? There must be something nefarious about that. Well, that's actually a good question. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that the Township Committee had 5 members that voted on that. All 5 were present at the introduction, at the final adoption. They all knew about it, which means that if they want, they could ask people to run. So DJ Lucarelli voted on it at the introduction. He voted on it at the final adoption. Tom Cortelli voted on it, introduction, at the final adoption. In June, Rocco Improviduto became the official Republican candidate. And since he's running for the Township Committee in November, you think he's following it. He either knows or should know about this, because the ordinance was introduced in July. Eric Hines had commented on this, former mayor, so he knows or should have known. Others know. So, the question is, I don't know why there are only 5 of us who ran, but that's not the point. Maybe you should ask them. Here's something very interesting. Just this week, they announced there are 2 and only 2 Republican candidates that's going to be in the primary for the 2 seats. So essentially, they're going to run unopposed. So I don't know. Is there something nefarious about that? Did you know that in 2013, there were 3 Board of Ed seats open and 3 candidates, and only 3 candidates ran? So they ran unopposed. I don't know. Is there a conspiracy in 2013? Did you know that in 2014, that also happened? There were 3 seats open and only 3 candidates ran. They ran unopposed. So, questions like that are not helpful in terms of what we're trying to do. We have a mandate. We're on a fact-gathering mission. Understand and study the current form of government, explore various alternatives. Now, individuals want to use their allotted time to ask questions that are not relevant to the process. That's fine, that's their prerogative. But what we will do is we will draw the line on personal attacks directed at commissioners up here who have volunteered their time to serve on the commission without compensation, especially some of those allegations without basis and misinformation. I'm proud and honored to serve with members of this Charter Study Commission who are up here on the dais. Vice Chair Bill Kastner is the chair of the Homedale Environmental Commission. He serves on the planning board. He's the executive director of Monmouth County Conservation Foundation. Some of you may have seen about preservation of open land and so on. His organization's been doing for 40 years. 40 years. He serves on these things without compensation at his own time and effort. Sitting next to him, Commissioner Zach Gilstein is chairman of the Finance Advisory Committee. They provide and review budgets, all on a volunteer basis. He serves on the planning board. He serves on the environmental commission. Again, all without compensation, all in his time. To my left, Janet Burke, Commissioner Burke. God bless her. She's supposed to be retired, but she's still on the green team. She teaches on a New Jersey program, some of you may be familiar, called CAP, Children Anti-Bully Program. And as some of you may know, that's a big issue for children. Bullying, cyberbullying, you might have seen lots of stories about suicides of teens and others because of bullying. She serves on this, again, through her time and effort without compensation. Next to her is Commissioner Bufalino. Commissioner Bufalino, up until recently, was on the zoning board, again, without compensation. He serves as president of Preserve Homedale. Those of you who don't know, Preserve Homedale have been trying to improve the quality of life in Homedale. They fought against the Capelli complex when they were trying to build a huge complex with towers, light towers over 80 feet tall that are ruined South Homedale. He serves on that as a grassroots movement, no compensation, to help improve quality of life in Homedale. Now, I'm the slack in this group compared to these guys. For those of you who don't know me, my day job is a consumer advocate. In 2016, some of you may or may not be familiar with it, JCP&L wanted to build a monstrosity of a transmission line through Aberdeen, Hazlitt, Homedale, Middletown, and Red Bank. They were going to put 230,000 transmission line, more than 10 feet wide at the base. Think about this room, more than half of this room, 140, 200 feet tall. So those of you who are familiar with Woodbridge and Island, and you see what that have done. If that had been built, Homedale definitely would have been devastated and destroyed. Because if you have a choice to live in Homedale with high power transmission lines, or move to Colts Neck or Marlboro, what would you do? I wouldn't want to live in a high power transmission line similar to Island or Woodbridge. But because of that, I was lucky to serve as co-president of that, and a lot of things opened my eye. I founded a group called CHARGE, Consumer Helping Affect Regulation of Gas and Electric. That is meant to be a consumer advocate for New Jersey's 3 million individual consumers. Now, it doesn't really concern you too much, except that it speaks for a lot of people in Homedale as well. Some of you remember a couple of years ago when we went through a winter storm. Isaias, I think is the correct spelling of that. A very significant portion of Homedale lost their power. Some for only 4 days, I say only, because others were more than 7 days or 10 days. Very significant portion. I went down to Trenton because there was a state legislature, there was an environmental and energy committee, and we provide testimony against that, against JCP&L's lack of maintenance for the local distribution system. CHARGE is a grassroots group. I don't get paid for that. But in fact, I incur expenses. I drive to Trenton, I drive to Newark, all on my nickel, besides the time and expense, mileage, tolling, parking, etc. In 2018, South Homedale was going to a situation where New Jersey Natural Gas was going to put in an industrial-sized gas regulator. I joined up with a number of Homedale residents to try to put a stop to that. Within a very short time, we put together a fantastic effort. We had a petition, over 1,000 people. We had a lot of people who spoke with the judge about that. Now, I live in northern Homedale, just so you know. This is in southern Homedale. It doesn't affect me. But I joined because that was not right. It was not good for Homedale. In 2019, some of you may or may not remember, there was a release of a fire report. Homedale in 2014 shut down fire company number 1. For over 5 years, in 2019, we have not had a fire company for more than half of Homedale. There were all kind of questions raised as to response time. More than 4 homes got burned to the ground, and that report finally came out, and it was alarming. It was alarming for a number of reasons. It says that we may not have adequate fire protection. We may not have adequate equipment, fire engines in particular. We may not have adequate personnel. We were on a volunteer fire force. Well, I founded a small group called FAST, Fire Action Safety Today. And it took us 3 years. But now, at the end of this month, we're going to have a dedication for a new firehouse, centrally located, that will have much better response time. And some of you know, Ron Emmer sitting in the audience, he's one of the very vocal supporter. We got a new fire truck. At the same time, with the dedication of the new firehouse, there's going to be a wet down with the new fire engine. Now, I live very close to fire engine number 1, which is off Centerville Road up near Dearborn. Fire response is not an issue for me. They can get to me in 5 minutes. This is something that I got involved in. I started the group. Why? Because it's not right for Homedale. 2 is what most people didn't realize. There was a hidden tax. There was a community fire rating that got dropped, and the homeowner insurance that we all pay went up because the insurance company used that community rating. I won't bore you with all the details, but essentially there was a hidden tax between $1.5 to $2 million of hidden tax that we pay. But instead of the township committee passing that through the budget and then going to a tax levy, we pay it directly from our pocketbook to insurance companies. So I bring all this up not to get ourselves a nice pat on the back and good job or anything like that, but rather the fact that everything this group has done, service, civic duties, engagement, is try to protect and preserve Homedale. So the point of all that is, next time you see something where they said the Charter Study Commission is going to destroy Homedale, please at least pause and think about and ask exactly how are they destroying Homedale. Give us the benefit of the doubt. Wait for the recommendation to come out. Now, maybe you agree with it. I hope you do. But if you don't, that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But ultimately, you have the power. You can go to the polling booth and vote no. You could approve or disapprove. You have the power. Some describe the Charter Study Commission as all-powerful. We're not, actually. We're advisory in nature. Whatever we decide is a recommendation, and it's up to the people in Homedale to vote to approve or disapprove. So, sorry about that. Our next phase, we will deliberate, and we will decide on recommendations. We'll file a formal report. We're on a fact-gathering mission before we're doing that. These public hearings are meant to allow the public to provide input to that process. So our hope is to get constructive public input, hopefully not rehashing last year's campaign issue. And again, we will draw the line. Will not tolerate personal attacks on members of this Charter Study Commission. With that, before I open it to the public, Counselor, is there anything you want to make?
That's right, 3 minutes.
Yep, I'm going to make a comment first.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Kevin Starkey. I'm the attorney for this Charter Study Commission. And I just wanted to briefly review really the limited purpose of this commission, just so everyone understands why we're here. This commission was, the members of this commission, the 5 members were elected in November. They serve for a limited period of time. It's generally 9 to 10 months, and then the commission ends its business and the offices end. during that time frame, the business of the Charter Study Commission is defined by state law. State law allows this to happen, and it dictates what the commission can do. And at the end of what the commission does, they study the forms of government, the current form of Homedale Township government, other governments that are permitted and are in effect in other towns, and then they make a recommendation. The key word there is recommendation. This committee does not have the power to change anything in Homedale. It only has the power to make a recommendation. Only the people of Homedale, by vote at the ballot box, can decide whether or not to change anything. And it's important that every single action taken by this commission is done publicly. And they all are. These are public meetings. They are publicly noticed. They are videotaped. They are, minutes are taken. And the public has a right to participate. You're all here today. You're going to have a right to get up to the microphone. You can speak your piece. You can say you like the government that Homedale has. You think there should be a change. You can comment on the issues that have been raised by the witnesses who have come here. That's your right to do that. But this is not like a trial in court. It's not adversarial. It's not even like a deposition where there's cross-examination. The goal here of the commission and of the public is information gathering. It's so people can have their input. So for that reason, I would say that personal attacks on members of this commission, on members of the public, on people who come here or who have come here to speak, that there's really no place for that. And there's no purpose in this for personal attacks. You're here to get up and comment on what you think the form of government should be and what those issues raise, and you're free to do that. But just personal attacks really have no place. And I just remind you that the members up here are volunteers. They're not being paid for this. They're here for a limited period of time, then they're going to be discharged. They were elected, so they are serving the public by sitting up here. And I ask that everyone, whether you agree with the views expressed or disagree, and that's fair, that you just respect the people who are up here as I know they respect the members of the public that are here as well. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. So we're going to open it up. If you are interested and wish to speak, raise your hand. You will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. And if you could state your name and address for the record before you speak. We do have a timekeeper, Commissioner Gilstein will be there, and I think that alarm will go off when your time is up. So, all right, we're going to open it up. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand. There's a woman up front here, please. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, please.
Sure. My name's Theano Kolovos, and I live at 8 Canyon Woods Court. My question to the commission is, what would you say is the biggest issue in Homedale? Because with all these speakers that you have up there, we hear about what's working in their town. But I feel like, as a newbie especially, I've only been here 2.5 years now. I can certainly do my own research, of course, but because you folks are up here making the suggestions, what is it about Homedale that really isn't working? What's the biggest problem? Because for me, I see a government that's getting things done for the people. And everything you spoke about at the beginning, all the things that you accomplished, which I thank you so much, those were for the people. And you did all of that for the people. You guys got it done. And some of you here. So why are we trying to change that? It's working for the people. I want to know what the biggest problem in Homedale is that I don't know about, that some of these people might not know about, and that all of those new people that moved to our town in the last, since the pandemic started, don't know. Because that's what I'm here for today. I want to know what some people aren't telling me.
Okay, is that all your questions
Yes.
and comments? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
So, we spent most of January and February interviewing as part of phase 1, that's part of the study. remember, the Charter Study Commission is on a fact-finding mission first and explore. So I would urge you on the website, on our website, there are video recordings. You can go to YouTube and look for Homedale Township channel, and you find all the recordings of all the meetings that, as the council said, were public and recorded, and you can watch all that, because during that process, we went to a very thorough interview of elected official, asked them about township committee and, you know, what they like, what they don't like, to make sure we understand that. So the Charter Study Commission was not formed with preconceived notions and ideas. There are things we're aware of, we're not, so we interview elected officials, and they mention good things, they mention some things that may not be as good in their view and as we consider. So I would, in Homedale, as well as in the form of government, which is allow certain things to happen. So, anyone else wish to speak? I'm sorry, Commissioner Gilson, I apologize, go ahead.
Yeah, a good reference is the summary that was done on phase one. So we did talk to a lot of people about the township. And first, I just want to, I've made this point in the past. It's not about that there's something really wrong in Homedale. We have a great town, and we're well-run. We are really looking at, are there some things that we could do that would make us even better? And when we talk to people who work under the township committee, both in Homedale and in other municipalities in Monmouth County that work under the township committee, we heard several things where they said, it would be even better if we could elect the mayor directly. It would be even better if we could have referendum and initiative. They actually mentioned a number of things where it could be even better.
Township councilman.
Right, township
Not the
councilmen
people.
and mayors. And then we heard from the public at the end of phase one, a meeting like this, and we had around, I don't know, a dozen people from the public make statements. Most of them spoke up for electing the mayor directly, having nonpartisan elections, having referendum and initiative. So there were things they thought, not that things were really bad, it was that things could be even better.
I'm sorry, there was a woman in the second row, you had your hand up. Please come up, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Janet Jackal. I live at 31 Stony Brook Road. And I have been in the town for over 40 years, so I have seen a lot of what's gone on. I'm not one of those people who got the text over the weekend, so I didn't have to spend my time under the bed or anything. But I did hear a lot because I've watched a number of your hearings. And one of the things that struck me was what the Marlborough mayor said. I thought his presentation was really interesting because he seemed very thoughtful. He was not in favor of nonpartisan elections. He said everything had worked fine in Marlborough up to this point. And then he said that if they stopped working, he would possibly change his mind. Now, I think one of the problems that I have seen in Homedale is the way that the partisan elections can distort things and have, in some cases, led to very ugly accusations, not unlike some of what we have seen or heard in these hearings. And for that reason, I would very much favor going to a nonpartisan election. But I did have a question about it. Our school board elections are nonpartisan. And at the same time, we find that there are clusters of people form ad hoc groups to run together. If we were to move to nonpartisan elections, would that kind of thing be possible? Would that make any sense? And if it, I guess you could always have a group, you could always put up your signs together. But would there be ways in which that could be recognized on the ballot? Or do you think it's a bad idea? That's basically my question. But before you answer, I would just like to thank you all very much. As full disclosure, I work with a number of you on a number of boards and have over the years. So I know how hard the work is, and I really appreciate the work you're doing right now. Thanks very much, and I'll just disappear while you answer.
Janet, thank you. Towards the end of John Hornick's interview, who was the mayor of Marlborough, he was asked the question about nonpartisan elections. I believe his response was, I didn't think so initially when I was, running the government over the past, I think he's been mayor almost 9 consecutive years. But he said, right now I would consider it because of the divisiveness that's been going on as a way to hopefully overcome it. Because that's one of the features, I think, of nonpartisan elections is it does, in some cases, smooth things out in terms of interaction with the boards and certainly with the township committees. So, but he did make that statement. And if you want to check it, it is on video.
So Commissioner Burke, did you want to? Oops.
I just want, Kevin, could you address the issue about grouping on ballots?
Yes, in nonpartisan elections, the candidates do not run the significance is they do not run obviously on the party line, Democrat and Republican, but there are some towns where they allow grouping of candidates. For example, you have three candidates might run on the same slate or under the same banner, and they allow them to be placed under that banner on the ballot. I think that's what you're asking, right? Yeah.
I think I saw a gentleman in the back had raised his hand in black there, please. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, please.
Yes, my name is Gene Luciani. I'm at 10 Country Squire Lane in Homedale, and I just wanted to say that I would be very much in favor of nonpartisan elections. It's, when you have a slate of candidates all on one party, and for example, we had our mayor, Bontempo. He wasn't on the Republican Party ticket. They didn't want him to be the mayor of Homedale, and we managed to get him in anyway, but it was hard going when the Monmouth Republicans had just put a slate of candidates who were against him. So I would be in favor of people just voting for people as they are, and maybe not even having groupings, but just saying, you're Joe Blow, et cetera, you fall where you fall on the ballot by a lottery or whatever, and everyone would have to decide who they wanted to vote for. They have to know the person, not the party. That would be much better. So if somebody was affiliated as a Democrat in the national elections, but seemed to be a better candidate than somebody else, we should vote for them. And the people shouldn't have the crutch of thinking they should vote a party line. So that's my point. I don't like the partisan especially on a township basis. There's really no reason for it, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry, there's another gentleman here. No, that's you. Yep. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Wes Fagan, 50 Chestnut Ridge Road, Homedale. We agreed that all your expenses are paid for by our taxes. On March 3rd, I expressed my surprise that this commission's website, HomedaleCharter.com, was soliciting donations to further the cause to P.O. Box 761. I asked, was it legal, and if so, was the donor list available to the public? By that weekend, the link was erased and the site was scrubbed of any trace of misdeed. Chairman G rendered his opinion and alleged that I was confused. On page 1 in this study, published at SaveHomedaleNow.com, entitled Collusion, Voter Manipulation, Secrecy, and Power, Homedale's Charter Committee, it is here disclosed that this box PO 761 is directly tied to Chairman G's Political Action Committee. Its stated purpose is to advocate for nonpartisan elections and public questions. Does that sound familiar? I originally believed Chairman G to simply be a concerned citizen who organized rage, fight for the little guy against the big electric company. He then pivoted to expose, in his words, the party bosses. It turns out he is the political operative. This is not a study. It's a plot to change our government to align with, quote, more modern standards, a dog whistle for his progressive values. He doesn't taint this committee, he poisoned it. As residents, we are so busy working, raising our families, and paying mortgages, we inherently trust our elected and want to be elected officials are working in the best interests of Homedale. Monmouth is one of the few remaining conservative-leaning counties in an increasingly liberal state. You suppose that what happens in Little Homedale has nothing to do with state and national issues. The political figure who flips Homedale will expect to attract the attention of media with Trenton and Washington, D.C. assignments not far behind. Woke-inspired political victories are significant, long-lasting, and lucrative. Politically motivated actors who continue to use the cover of a global pandemic to fundamentally change Homedale are not appreciated. Society should not encourage bad behavior. Regardless of our form of government, it is only good as the people in it. Divide the people, eliminate the norms of political affiliation, and erase the past. The Commission is quick to remind us that they are technically, quote, working within the system. They neglect to point out the intentional failure to engage the public and disclose that these five were the only who even knew how to throw their hat into the ring. It appears to be a small contingent feathering each other's beds. You can pave over the blue line out front, outlaw party affiliation, eliminate definitions, but it's not the form of government that matters, it's the character of those individuals that make the difference. At that March 3rd meeting, your supporters concluded, quote, it's not this commission's problem that the Homedale residents were caught asleep at the wheel, quote, not paying attention during Zoom meetings of July and August during the summer of COVID 2021. The process feigned transparency but empowered only a few. I pray Homedale will stand against sneaky players and stand up for ethics, integrity, and moral principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there women in the back here? Please state your name and address. Thank you. And you have 3 minutes.
We should thank the previous speaker for his comment.
Want to say something? You want to respond to that?
No. Thank you for your comment.
Good evening, Kai Collins, 127 South Telegraph Hill Road. So it's not the people that are the problem. I think you guys all have done wonderful things in this community. I got to know Kin back in the Rage days when I moved here from Long Island City, and I was so happy to be coming to Homedale and have a guy like this willing to go through what he went through to keep those monster power lines off of the property that we were looking to buy. It's not the people. I think you have to look at when a change is recommended, you have to dig into why. What's the agenda? Why make the change? What's so broken? And what I keep coming back to and what I keep hearing, and I've spoken with so many people at this point, is it's the Republican Party in Homedale. They keep winning, and we don't like the influence they have, and so we need to change things. And that to me says it's going to pave the way for the Democrats to have a chance in Homedale to get on these panels. And in my opinion, Township Committee, it doesn't matter the politics here. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is when you use this as a launching point to get up to the state level. And I recently changed from a Democrat to a Republican the past 2 years because of the broad authority at the state level that squashed rights. And it came after my health and it came after my kids. And it's unhealthy to have that type of broad authority. So when I see some people in some of these forms of government would have that broad authority, it's highly concerning. I don't know why we would be looking at that locally. That's my biggest concern with wanting this change, is a broad authority for anyone. So a question I have for you tonight is, in this mayor council, I think I would rule that out because it gives the most authority to one person. The only one that would be doable would be council manager, and then my question would be this business manager, do they hold more authority than the township administrator? And if we move to a council manager, what's the big difference other than being able to, petition for an initiative? What's the biggest difference between that and what we have now, our township committee form of government? Because to me, something doesn't look right when I look at everyone's petition and it's the same Democratic voters who sign them all. It's like, okay, well, you guys, so clearly there's an agenda here that we want to kind of push the Republicans aside in this town and make way for more Democrats to come in. And I'm not willing to roll that dice this year because of what transpired the last 2 years. I think it's dangerous. I think the party wants to do things that are not going to be good for anyone in the world, let alone Homedale. And so I would only caution voters to watch for broad authority, watch for any change that is going to provide a launching point for any candidate to get to the state level and make decisions that are going to impact our most personal lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Kai, I mentioned a number of times here, phase 3 is when there'll be deliberation, discussions, and, people will, and then the recommendation will come out. So we haven't made any recommendations, so just stay tuned, please. Gentleman in the back here. Yes, you. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
My name is Pankaj Shah. I reside at 18 Dearborn Drive. I have.
Could you move up to the mic a little closer?
Yes.
People can't hear you in the back.
Me and my family have resided in Homedale very happily over the past 32 years. And my observation is that divisiveness that is so widespread in Washington between Democrats and Republicans. Over the past few years, I have seen it seep into Homedale. And my view is that that is moving Homedale in a direction that, in my opinion, is not desirable. If I were to consider voting for somebody in Homedale, what matters to me is what their ideas are, what they plan to do for our township. It really doesn't matter if they are a Democrat or Republican. So my request is anything you could do to move this township away from divisiveness, that would be happy. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Woman in the back, please. That's you. Barbara.
Barbara Singer, 5 Deerfield Road. I'd first like to address some information that is put out by residents. I appreciate at the beginning of the meeting you addressing some of that information. I feel you've all been trying to take the high road and not respond back to some things that have been said. There are points I've seen, though, out there that I would like to clear up. With respect to the lack of advertising for people to run for the commission, we need to distinguish between ad hoc committees that are set up in this town and a commission such as this. This commission is an elected office. There are other elected offices in Homedale aside from Township Committee. There are the county committee seats also. Our Township Committee has never had a townwide marketing campaign to get people to run for any of the elected offices. When people run for office, they don't go out there and say, hey, I'm looking for some opponents to run against me. Anybody want to come do this too? That just is illogical. So when people say that you secretly got your petitions done and friends and family signed all of them, oh yeah, that's how that's done for all of our races here. Depending on the number of signatures required, not every elected office requires the candidates to have to go ringing doorbells of people they don't know. This is in contrast to an ad hoc committee that the township sets up where they do a lot of advertising about because they are looking for people to volunteer their times to be on this ad hoc committee. These are two entirely different processes within our government, so they each have different procedures. Getting back to some facts I'd like to clear up. Information has been delivered as factual when the people obviously have not checked the facts. As the head of the Homedale Democratic County Committee, I know a lot about what's going on Democratic campaigns, Democrats in the county, Democrats at the state level. Surprisingly, people who are making all allegations, not one has come to contact me, yet I have reached out to numerous people who have been up here opposing this commission and making these false allegations. So I will take it on to address some of these points. For a basic example, a statement that Senator Gopal was in Homedale for a fundraiser for a Democratic candidate last year. He was not in Homedale for the fundraiser. Attendance is an easy fact to verify. It is not a conspiracy for people in the same party to support one another. I point this out because it just shows that time was not taken to verify these facts. Also, the event was not hosted by anybody on this commission. I read that online. False. The event was hosted by a family friend of the candidate. I organized the event with the candidate. I'm sorry, I know I'm going over time.
I'm sorry. Is that 3 minutes? Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you, Barbara.
Let her finish.
Okay.
Because we're trying to limit and make it fair for everybody else an opportunity. Sir, please only address the dais. You were allowed to speak if you're being called up there. So if you got 30 seconds to finish,
Two
please,
quick
Barbara.
points. With respect to Senator Gopal running this state, because it's mentioned that Red Bank is doing the same thing. That's in his district. The Red Bank Initiative is Republican-led, not Democrat-led. So that is not being run by Vin Gopal. He's never approached me about doing this in Homedale. That has not happened. Finally, I'd like to say, despite the fact that many of us are coming at this with different ways we're thinking about it, Kai Collins and I agree on the end result. And I'm sure many other people here I've spoken to do, that this, we would like to see the council manager forum with a weak mayor and nonpartisan elections. So at the end of the day, maybe we all can actually agree on what we do think is best for Homedale. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. A woman in the back. Please state your name, address, and your 3 minutes, ma'am.
Got it. Janelle Michella, 2 Oak Tree Lane. Okay, I just want to first actually jump in really quick and just address Barbara. Hi, I had the pleasure of speaking with Barbara at one of the last meetings. She's extremely sweet. We had a great conversation, but I really didn't know her from a hole in the wall at that moment. I'm new to the politics situation in Homedale, and so one of the first things and main things that Barbara said to me that stuck out was that by having partisan elections and by having elections during a normal voting time such as November, it doesn't give the opportunity for the underdog to get in. Well, that's because the underdog is an underdog for a reason. They don't want to, the people don't vote for them for a reason. So you want to have off-season elections to sneak in people that we don't want, was basically the conversation we had, and it was very awkward to me to own that, to be honest with you. But everything else we spoke about, we had a lot of common ground on. And I come from a very conservative and Republican family. I'm the liberal of my family, amazingly. So with that, I actually want to jump into what I plan to say. So the Charter Study says that they're giving power to the people is the whole idea, right? But who asks for this power? Giving the power to the people to vote for bigger government is giving people the power to fool themselves into thinking they're making a change and given power when everyone knows that bigger government means less power to the people. Removing the party's affiliation and having off-season elections might be the only way for non-favorited and unknown politicians to get an in, but it would be ridiculous to think that that gives power to the people. That removes power to the people. It is the job of the candidate to promote themselves and win the voters over. It is also a well-known fact that off-season elections mean less people come out to vote. We vote the township committee in, and the mayor is chosen from those people. We do have a direct voice in who the mayor could be. It's one of them. Ooh, sorry. The Marlboro mayor also stated, in listening to what he had to say, which was excellent, that a corrupt mayor could be devastating. Well, that's horrible to hear. That's a very big risk that I don't think our town needs. If you want to clean up the ballots, great. But did you see the section that had 30+ candidates running for a position as one of the examples? Who even gets a vote then? That's ridiculous. A small town like Homedale does not need big government. Every person up here in favor of these changes is also proving that is not needed, as the labels haven't stopped the ability of people from multiple parties to get in. Everyone has said, oh, this could do this to help that, but we got in anyway, so why do we need it? And knowing the party affiliation of a candidate allows for people to know where their loyalty lies, regardless of how kind a person they are. By the way, I stood outside in crummy weather for over an hour at a Middletown school to get in the public hearing and listen to hours of residents fighting against Big Electric for rage. I too was one of the people who spoke out. Good ideas are supported regardless of who is behind them.
Thank you.
Can I have 30 seconds just to respond, just because Barbara mentioned something, and we had a lovely discussion, but I just wanted to clarify.
I'm sorry, Kai, just you got one shot at it. If I gotta give, look, there's a lot of people here, we gotta give a fair shot to everybody. If you could wait until at the end, when we give everybody else a shot, and we still on a basis, then we would definitely consider that. But I think there are other people who have not spoken yet. It would be unfair to do that. Anyone else want to speak right now before we, gentleman in the back?
Thanks, everyone. Alexei Milgram, 79 Tecolusa.
So you may have to raise that, sir.
Yeah.
Or you could hold that. You could take the mic out and just, yeah.
There you go. 79 Tecolusa. So what I wanted to say is, number one is, I'm not going to relitigate how you guys got here. I think it's done. You guys are here. You guys are doing what you were elected to do. I honestly just want to say two things purely around what you're here to do. One is, I know that you've brought in a lot of other Monmouth County townships and towns and politicians to talk about how great or how not so great their town governance is. One thing I do want to say is that when I was a kid, I was always told, if your kids jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you? The same thing here. Just because someone else changed their way of governance doesn't mean Homedale has to. So when we look at this, let's not just look just because everyone else does it. We have to do this as well. It's about what truly works for us, and does it even matter? When we talk about mayor and council, we like to talk about Red Bank and Tinton Falls and Marlboro. Let's talk about another mayor and council setup. Let's talk about New York City. How well does that work out? We know how it is. So let's just pay attention to that. And finally, I do want to bring up one of my favorite sayings in the world. It's actually said by Ferdinand Porsche, which I assume everyone here knows. And he said, to change is easy, to improve is hard. We talk a lot about change, but let's not take the easy way out, and let's actually do something that's actually better for Homedale, not for the elected officials, not for the parties, not for the politicians. And trust me, I've read the print, so I know that the compensation doesn't have to be just with monetary compensation. So let's talk about how we can improve, not just for the officials, but for the people that live here in the town.
Thank you. Any other speakers? That gentleman just came in, but I think this woman had her hand up first. Yes, please. State your name, address, and your 3 minutes, ma'am.
Francine Campus, 2 Country Squire Lane. I'm up here, first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for your service to this town and for being on the commission. Because regardless of whether people feel how you got there or whatever, you're putting in time and you're making us aware of things we would not know. Okay, there is a lot of people in this town, including myself, that don't know what goes on, what could be an improvement or not. And based on what you said, You're not the be-all. This will go to the voters. The voters will make the decision. And I implore the people of this town to get involved, because that's what's wrong. When you're not involved and kept up, when you hear issues, you're not listening. Find out all of their recommendations, thank them for their research, and then make your decision which way you want to go. Forget about, I have my opinions upon nonpartisan elections and everything, but I won't even share it here because I don't think that's what's important. I think what's important is we should thank the people here for bringing up issues to, as Zach said, not because something's broken in Homedale or needs to be changed, because it is a great town. I've been here for over 30 years, and Homedale is a wonderful place. It's a jewel, and we should all work to keep it that way, okay? And we should unite as a town to fight the outside forces that want to destroy this jewel that's here. Okay, you're all, no matter what opinion each of you
I'm sorry,
have,
can you please address the
wonderful
dais and not to the audience, please? Thank you.
because you're all wonderful people. So please, be, be involved. Don't criticize these people that want to make you more informed about what's really going on. And vote. Come and vote. And then your voice will be heard.
Thank you. Anyone? Gentleman in the back? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Tom Santora, 8 Willow Road. So whatever decisions you guys make, we'd love to hear them. I think, as you said, the voters should be heard. My question is, when will this be on the ballot? Will this be a November ballot when the most of the voters will be heard? Or will this be September and October to enforce the changes that you guys recommend on the November ballot?
You finished all your comments and
No,
questions?
I'd just like to hear an answer.
If you can do all 3 minutes,
Okay.
because I appreciate
Okay,
it. Yeah.
so, whatever the recommendations are, that, so be it. But I think what would serve Homedale the best would be for the most people in Homedale to vote on it. So I think it should be in the November ballot, whether you're for or against the charter committee. And I've spoken to a lot of people here for and against the charter committee, and I think everybody can agree that it should be on the November ballot. So I just ask that whatever you guys recommend, it's full transparent, and I hope that it would be on the November ballot, because I believe that would be the most, you would receive the most feedback from the voters, and isn't that what it's all about? So I hope it's on the November ballot, and I'd like an answer, because obviously no recommendations have been made. You guys, a lot of people have asked questions, and phase 3 hasn't ended yet, and I understand that. But the fact is, whatever the recommendations are, it should be basically heard by most of the Homedale residents. So I just ask that it's on the November ballot, and I'd like an answer tonight whether it will be, because whatever recommendations you guys have, you guys should know whether it's going to be on what ballot. Where September, October, that doesn't pass the smell test. So I would say I'd like to know if it's on the November ballot, and that's it.
What's the difference?
Thank
Can you explain what the difference is?
If it's on the November ballot,
No. If it was sooner, what is the difference? I mean, you're telling me it doesn't meet the smell test, but I'm having trouble understanding.
most people vote in November. Would you agree?
Yes, because that's when the national elections are, but
Correct.
they also vote in June for the primary.
What percentage would you say vote in June, and what percentage would you say vote in
It
November?
depends on the election.
About, would you say half?
It depends on the election.
I would say it's probably about 25%. I didn't even know there was a June election. So what I would ask is that if you guys want the most transparency and the most feedback from the Homedale residents, I would ask that it's on the November ballot. And it doesn't look like it's going that way, but I would say whatever the recommendations are, please let the voters of Homedale, pick their own government as you guys, are.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you.
Counselor, I wonder if you could, I think this came up before in terms of timetable. So one of the things, obviously, a lot of things are triggered when the commission can reach its conclusion and file the form. But if you could maybe address,
I don't know that
think
the
this,
decision has been made, but I can tell you the parameters that determine that. And it's essentially when the report is issued. The statute sets up, it's not up to this commission, statute sets up when the election is to be had based on when the report is issued. Well, yeah, that's state law makes that. That's set out by statute. That's let me finish describing for you how the statute works. When the report is issued, if a general election is to be held, I believe it's not less than 60 and not more than 120 days after the issuance of the report, it goes to the general election. If there is no general election within that time frame, then it goes to a special election, and those dates are also determined by state law. In other words, when that would be. It can't be within 20 days of another official election, or it gets bumped later, and it can't be on a holiday or something like that. But it again is within 60 to 120 days after the issuance of the report. So the issuance of the report triggers that.
Would you agree that November would get the most amount of Holmdel residents to vote?
I have no idea how many would vote on this in any election. I mean, it depends on the enthusiasm that comes out from Holmdel residents in terms of how eager they are to vote on whether there's a change of government or not.
I'm sorry, sir. This is not iterative back and forth, please. You had your 3 minutes. And we're trying to respond to, please. Kai Collins just asked for a chance to rebuttal. We said, let's let everybody else have a chance. So please respect that there are other people, I think, that do want to speak. And not yet, Kai. I just want to make sure no one else has, I'm sorry. My point was that I think there are other people who have not spoken. Let's give everybody an equal chance, please. And does anyone else want to speak?
Let's thank the speaker for his input.
I'm sorry? Did you
Yes.
want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Tom for his input.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Thank you. But
Great.
I'd like an answer though. November?
No,
Can we get November?
thank you for your, okay. Gentleman here, please. And then there's one more back there, okay.
Dimitri Orphanotopoulos for Devon Court. Basically, I love that sheet you prepared. You did a great job. Can you talk about how the districts or parishes would apply to that sheet? Thank you.
Yeah, he's talking about the wards. No, okay, just,
I'll speak to it. So wards or at-large is another characteristic that's permitted in council manager or mayor council. Since the input that we got was almost uniformly that there were only a couple people who thought that it would be better to have wards, I didn't list that as a key characteristic. But it is a choice that we have that we'll make a decision about, both in mayor council. If you wanted to break into wards, you could, and in council manager, you could break into wards, or you could have everybody elected at large, or you could actually have a mixture. Township committee is only at large election.
thank you. Any gentleman in the back, last row? Yes, please. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Yep, it's Bob Miscavige, 48 Centerville Road. And you know what? I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Could you tell me? I should know this, but I don't.
My name is Kin, last name G-E-E.
Okay, and you live in Holmdel. Like what address? Where do you live?
I'm sorry, sir. If you have a question or comment, please proceed. This is not an iterative questioning of the commissioners. Do you have comments? Do you have a question?
Holmdel, right, you live, okay. I figure if I have to tell where I live, then maybe you should. But, so I'm totally backing the gentleman before that this should be November because the town's been a pretty good town to live in for many years. And to be honest, this is the only time I've ever heard tension in the town is because of this. So if you're trying to make the town better, if you're trying to make the town better, I don't see where it's making it better. I mean, it's causing a lot of grief in the town. So I feel if it's November, everybody got a heads up. We could talk about it throughout the community. Otherwise, you know, people aren't really going to know what's happening, and I don't know how much time you guys need in order to put a vote together. But I don't feel it's right. I feel like there's a lot of contention here, and I've never experienced that here. So this is something very radically different, and it's not radically better. So it's actually radically the other way. So that's, those are my thoughts, but I agree with him. I think that the November would be the way to go. People could talk about it. They'll be expecting it. They're going out to vote. You know, a lot of people that have their own businesses, it's very hard to break away in, you know, the middle of the, you know, who knows when, and vote. You know, they're waiting for election day, and they're taking a lot of time out to vote. So, yeah, this is definitely not making it a happier place to live. You know, this whole issue. That's basically it.
Thank you for your comment. Woman in the back here. Yep. You. Sorry, it's hard to. Yep. Yes. Please state your name, address, and your 3 minutes, ma'am.
My name is Delia Fagan, and I live at 50 Chestnut Ridge Road. I'm a little bit confused, and the question is, I guess it's to the attorney. I was under the assumption that you can only vote 2 times, either in the primary or in the general election in November or the primary in June. So am I clear in what I was hearing that the election could be another date? I know you gave 20 days, you know, the days before, the days after, so am I confused of what I just heard? Or could the election be not in June and not in November? It could be in another September, October?
Okay.
That's really what I have to ask.
Thank you. You want to, Counselor?
The answer is yes, a special election can be held other than June and November. I can tell you that the election, the special election, if there is a question, a recommendation by the Charter Study Commission, it will not be on the June primary ballot. It cannot be, because that is a partisan ballot. So this will either be at a special election, not June and not November, or November. Those are the only options that are in the law.
Thank you, Counselor. Gentleman in the front. Okay, I'm trying to do my best to make sure I know who raised their hand, but, okay, woman in the, okay, yeah, please. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Sheila Franklin Gilstein, and I live at 11 Chardonnay Drive in Homedale. Full disclosure, I'm married to Commissioner Gilstein for 41 years. I'm also on the Recreation Advisory Committee. I'm also the former president and current secretary of Preserve Homedale. I'm also the former member and chairperson of the Homedale Drug and Alcohol Alliance. I've also contributed financially or in-kind support to most township committee elections since 1986, including the Republicans, the real Republicans, the independent Republicans, the Democrats, the independents. And if you don't understand my reference to the real Republicans and independent Republicans, you haven't been going back and doing research on our town and our things. So I've lived in here for a long time. I really would recommend, after seeing everything for 36 years, that we can move to a council manager position where we take our township committee and we add the important parts of directly electing a mayor, having nonpartisan elections, being able to do a referendum, which I have done before with Preserve Homedale, and it's very difficult. You can only do it with an ordinance and not otherwise. And have the same setup where we do have an administrator and that the mayor has equal vote. Some people state that this current township committee setup is just perfect and fine. It has done us well and it hasn't done us well. So my point is that there are truly interested and motivated residents that have not been elected in local government because it is being controlled by a political machine in Freehold. This also happens in New Jersey towns, and it doesn't matter. It could be Republican machine, a Democratic machine, but the county level is controlling the local government. And my feeling is that Homedale residents are intelligent, they're discerning, and they don't need to be told who can run for mayor or township committee based on a party affiliation. It's time Homedale took back home rule and the power to govern their own town. I think we should move forward, make our town better, and recommend council manager government. Thank
Thank you. Gentleman in the front here, please. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Chris Damari, 7 Oaks. All your past accolades does not change the fact that this study has been tainted from the start. It will leave a stain on Homedale's 165-year history. Everything the mayor told us about this commission would represent has been false. And I'm really tired of the commission insulting Homedale residents when they claim to be the only ones who cared enough about Homedale to put in the time to become a powerful commissioner. It's not a conspiracy to say that you are Mayor Bontempo's handpicked team, or akin that you started a political action committee with intentions for changing to nonpartisan elections. It is clear why Homedale residents were not properly informed. It seems like this is being done for people who can't win elections in Homedale. It is up to people to convince our voters to elect them. It's not up to people to change our form of government just to make it easier for them to win elections. Homedale continues to be one of the most desirable places to live, and people are proud to be here. There's no pressing need for change. So let's look at the study. You brought on long-tenured Democrat politicians from other municipalities who have never operated in the township form of government, and you called them experts. You claim to be using these areas as models for Homedale. Homedale is a prestigious town in a league of its own, and as Mayor Bontempo stated, Homedale is the model. The forms of government you are considering changes to favor the politicians, not the people. This is why the Faulkner Act has been used to change local governments primarily in New Jersey's largest cities. Go ask those residents if they feel like it's power to the people where they live. In these strong mayor forms of government, the elected mayor is given almost total administrative authority and a clear wide range of political independence. The Marlboro mayor even quoted, coming out of the strong mayor government, said that when you get a corrupt mayor, it's devastating to the town. Why would Homedale take this risk? Mayor Bontempo just took full advantage of Homedale residents. And yes, that's why I'm here, to inform, because I did unfortunately not know that he took full advantage by pulling this off during a pandemic. Why would we want to give strong power and less oversight, including 4-year terms, to one person? When you market to residents that think they can directly elect the mayor, did you tell them that when they go to the ballots, they won't know who's Republican or Democrat, who shares their values? Nonpartisan elections are more susceptible to low voter turnout and manipulation. This is something people who can't win elections in a conservative-leaning town want. Politicians do not go out of their way to change the government structure to give more power to the people. We already have power to people in our current township form of local government, where we directly elect 5 committee members and the power remains balanced. I strongly oppose this charter study. Ken, you had mentioned that once the recommendations are made, that the Charter Study Commission or Township Committee will no longer be involved. Does this mean that this time around we will not see campaign signs littered all over our town by the mayor? We still don't even know who paid for these signs saying vote yes. Does that mean that neither the commission nor the mayor or any township committee members will campaign to vote yes or no? And Barbara, I always appreciate our conversation. We can pick this up, but on the Democratic Homedale
your time is up.
it said Rainbow Powell hosted
Your time
in
is
Homedale.
up.
They didn't acknowledge it when I asked
Sir,
last week.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak? Gentleman in the back, thank you. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Ralph Purcell, 18 Red Coach Lane. I just got a couple of questions, and you can answer them, or you don't have to. Especially about the thing you talked about, Ken G. You talked about the getting paid, or the people on the committee here are not getting paid. They've done so much hard work, but that's where's that money going to come from? Is that going to, if they do get paid, and if we do have a paid mayor in this town, who's going to pay that? Is it the people in this room that we pay our taxes? Is we the ones that are going to pay for it? But that's my question. And another thing you mentioned about this big conglomerate electric thing coming through Homedale. From what I remember I had to pay out of my own pocket to pay for a lawyer to help support Homedale from not having that conglomerate come into our town. Okay? I don't know if anybody remembers that, but they asked us all for donations to pay for the lawyer to stop it. Another thing I want to know is this thing about petitions. How did all of you guys get up here with your petitions? I know I've been going around banging my head trying to get a petition signed, and it's taken forever. But yet all of you people had them all ready and walked right in. I mean, do you all have the same 100 that you needed? Did all of you get 20 each and then just share them and mimeograph or copy them and give them to each other? Because this is a very hard thing to do, to get somebody to sign a petition. That's all I got to say, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Just one comment that you made about where will we get all this money to pay the mayor if we elect a mayor. Just to be clear, the Marlborough mayor mentioned he gets paid $4,800. You know, we pay our mayor, I think, $6,200 in Homedale. I looked up what what the other ones, Tinton Falls, Asbury Park, Ocean Township, everybody.
I'm sorry.
No, sir, what I'm trying to clarify is that even in these alternate forms of government, when you elect the mayor, all these towns that we interviewed, the mayor is still getting paid about $6,000.
We understand it's
So this idea that, and nor do we, and no one expects that. And I just want to clarify that even under these alternate forms of government, the mayors that serve under those forms of government in the local municipalities are all making the same $6,000 or
Sir,
$1,000.
let's try not have again, we're seeking comment. Look, I know I keep saying this, but let me repeat it because it's not getting through. Until the Charter Study Commission makes a recommendation, I have refrained from answering certain questions because we don't know exactly what the recommendations, we don't know what form, and even then, it depending on a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to give you a hypothetical, all right? This is purely hypothetical. If for some reason, if the Charter Study Commission elects to go to what you would call a strong mayor council form of government, within that form of government, there are at least two ways I can think of how the mayor could be, for lack of a better term, set up. One form is the Marlborough, what he tells you, he's not a full-time, he gets paid $4,800. There could be other forms of government where the mayor is a full-time job. In our town, in others, most of the elected officials are, for lack of a better term, part-time. They get paid a stipend, they get paid, they're not full-time. So at some point, someone, I think, made a suggestion from the public that they'd like to see full-time mayor and get paid $140K, I think was the number. The commission has not made any suggestions about that. And if I could finish, sir, this is not, if the recommendations from mayor council, there would be no suggestions in there about how that's going to be up to the council and the government itself to do that. We're not making any suggestion as to that. Could that happen? A lot of things could happen, my friend. A lot of things could happen. The stock market could fall, and I can get killed in the stock market, you know. That's irrelevant. That is correct, but the point is a lot of things could happen. So I'm sorry, sir, please.
Make the
Okay.
recommendations, and then we should do the public forum. That's what we should do.
Are there any other who want to speak? Are there anyone else? Did you raise your hand, sir? Yeah, please. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Start when I start, if you don't mind. Are you ready? Okay, we'll start it then. Good evening. I'm Terrence Wall. I live in Homedale. I thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. I think that it's also great that you want to keep the rhetoric down, so this way I won't be muted when one of your commissioners on my right takes a swipe at my wife, because it's not going to happen when I'm muted. This time, Mr. Buffalino, not going to happen again. I'm here to talk about the Township Committee form of government, and the reason I'm here to talk about it, I served 9 years on the Township Committee. I've been elected several times to the Board of Education, although I'm speaking on my own behalf here. spent about a decade on the Homedale Township First Aid Squad. I grew up in Homedale Township. I went through all the schools, I graduated the schools. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Township Committee form of government, which has been assiduously ignored and kicked to the curb. And there's an irony about this, folks. The Township Committee form of government is a fine form of government. You have 5 elected officials. They work for the township at large. This is not a large town. It's a small town, a small rural suburban town. It's worked well for over 150 years. Exactly, I don't know. I'm not a historian, but a very long time. All of the reasons that folks are here are due to the work and efforts of Republicans and Democrats that served on the Homedale Township Committee. Very important to note when you go to the polls, and I have a comment about the polls because there is an extremely interesting point that really speaks to the complaints and criticisms that this is a progressive Democrat takeover of this lovely community. And it really speaks volumes. I'm going to leave that with you before I leave today. And if anybody wants to follow up with me, you can go to facebook.com, Terrence M. Wall, and I'll be able to connect with you there. The Township Committee form of government is very simple. Let's talk about the things that the elected officials don't control. They do not control the police department. That's the chief of police in Title 40. They do not control the tax collector. That's a certified tax collector responsible to the state. They do not control the tax assessor. The tax assessor is a certified tax assessor responsible for the state. The construction office, the electrical subcode, the plumbing subcode, the construction official, they all are tied to regulatory affairs in Trenton. So before we consider this massive role the Township Committee thinks they play, you have to realize that power has a very small p. And the drama that this group has put forth is astounding. And the point I want to get to, we have heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, this commission say time and time again that the voters will choose. If you like it, say yes. If you don't like it, say no. It will be your choice. You're going to have an option. You're going to be able to go to the polls. Do you know the form of government that they're absolutely ignoring, shirking to the side? A traditional historic form of government, which is precisely how we got here, is the Township Committee. It should be option C, which is no option at all, to keep things the same, and then there's no election. Do the right thing and be transparent, folks. It's option C. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, Terrence,
Are there-
I didn't take a swipe at your wife. I took a swipe at you.
Excuse me, through the chair, please. Through the chair, get yourself under control. Get yourself under control.
I'm under control, sir.
Get yourself under control, especially at church, sir. Especially at church.
You make another accusation, you're going to be sorry.
While you're behind.
Sir? Yep, please. Is there anyone else who want to speak? Gentleman in front here?
How are you still up there mouthing curse words?
Ron
I'm
Emma.
not sure why you just issued a profanity.
Ron Emma, 32 Ladwood Drive.
I'm sorry, ma'am,
Sorry.
could you please, someone's up front speaking, could you please? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We need to maintain some, we need to maintain some decorum.
People that you got up there, you guys are pathetic. You're pathetic.
Excuse me, sir.
Pathetic.
Sir.
Call me an asshole. I'll wait for you outside.
Sir.
Police are here. Yeah. You got some nerve. You got some nerve.
Sir.
You be escorted out.
Excuse me, please.
Go ahead.
All right, look. Gentlemen, you have the floor, please. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you, officer. For now, we got a little bit maintain order, but we may need your presence a little bit right now.
Ron Emma, 32 Ladwood Drive, Homedale. Lifelong Republican. We've heard how great the government has been for the last 100 years, 150 years. I'm here to give you a couple examples of why our government is not excellent. I won't go back 100 years, but let me outline some of the dysfunction displayed by some of our past government officials. October 2001, former TC member Terry Wall gets censured by the Township Committee for releasing non-public information. Shortly thereafter, there was an incident report filed by the Homedale Police by the deputy mayor, saying he was confronted by Terry after a township meeting. The primary job of the Township Committee is public safety. You took some of my thunder earlier, Ken. South Homedale hasn't had a fire coverage since 2014, when previous mayor Township Committee closed fire company number 1. Numerous houses have burned to the ground in that time frame. This is finally being addressed with the new firehouse. However, we're still negotiating with Earl Naval Base to provide additional coverage for South Homedale. 2012, Township Committee tried to sell public lands, including Cross Farm Park, to balance the budget. 2016, Capelli Sports Complex was allowed to move forward by the Township Committee. If not for the community opposition, we'd have a for-profit soccer stadium complex on Route 20. After that was defeated, the turf field battle switched to Cross Farm Park, and the Township Committee authorized $90,000 for turf field design at Cross Farm Park that included 80-foot light towers. There has been extremely questionable insurance payments promised between former mayor and former TC member. A former mayor included a Palmer Avenue plot of land that could be included in the affordable housing plan. That plot is now Barclay Square, which includes affordable housing in an area that is prone to flooding. Last, but not by all means not least, a $2 million turf field was tried to be snuck into the consent agenda, and that included the mayor instruct our town administrator to make turf fields #1 priority. $75,000 was paid to T&M for design services for that field. That led her to being forced out of her job, but not before receiving an undisclosed golden parachute on the way out the door. Most likely 100,000 plus category. Of course, that scandal led to our former mayor being censured. Never before has a mayor been censured in our government history. Not exactly what I would call excellent governance. I look forward to your recommendations that will allow all Homedale residents the
Sir?
chance to vote on what you decide. That's
Sir?
called transparency in a
time's up.
democracy. Thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, Kai, we still got people who want to speak.
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. I'm actually impressed with Mr. Emma's research on some of those things because it takes time to look up some of that stuff.
The new government gives less oversight. The committee
Sir, can you please, we got someone else.
Stop the clock.
Sir, could you please, we have someone, you had a chance to speak, this gentleman speak.
But summing up,
We said that.
summing up what Mr. Emma said, the claim by this, I would argue, extreme organization that has stolen the name of Save Homedale from a very legitimate organization that I'm behind, has claimed, I hear you breathing over here, government excellence. To claim that Homedale has, after more than 100 years, been operating under government excellence, you either have to be asleep on drugs or delusional. It's a ludicrous statement. You can Google the scandals yourself. Okay, so I think that immediately and indefinitely impugns that organization from being taken credibly. Beyond that, why are we here? I'm a devout Republican. I won't list the whole things. I watch the shows us radical Republicans are accused of being watched. I'm a pro-life, God-fearing Catholic. Why are we here? Because the Republican Party in Monmouth County has polluted the well time and time again. And most of the people behind this that are supporting this and looking forward to hopeful good recommendations from you guys are actually Republicans, because we're tired. They've put on conflicted, damaged, bad candidates time and time again, including when there was a public, vivid record that these people were bad. So I am thank you for this cheat sheet, and by the claim that my family was involved in some conspiracy to get you guys up there. I didn't even know. I thought we could use a menu and pick and choose from these things. I didn't know you have to stay in a grouping, but if it was my choice, I like the council manager with nonpartisan. I don't want wards, and I would like 5 members, and I guess I'm going to disagree with some people. I think this should be in November. I agree with the opposition here, just to show how credible I am. I think this should be in November, and I don't know where you guys are on this. Let's make this as widespread and real as possible. Let people vote on it in the November election. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other There's one gentleman in the back. State your name, address, and your 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Larry Fink, 20 Algonquin Road, Holmdel.
Larry, turn the mic on.
I think it's on, right? But just speak closer to it, yeah.
Okay, Larry, can you hear me now? Okay. Larry Fink, 20 Algonquin Road, Holmdel. As some of you may know, I served on the Township Committee for 12 years, 4 consecutive terms, 3 of those as mayor of Holmdel. I applaud the efforts of this commission to act in a way that analyzes what we have, looks at alternatives, and looks for ways to improve Holmdel. We have a wonderful town, but we can always do better. I feel that the Township Committee form of government that we have had for a long time worked well some of the time, but certainly not all of the time. And in my experience, I found that at each and every Township Committee meeting, an inordinate amount of time was spent on what I would call partisan-based bickering. Oftentimes, people didn't listen to one another, not because they necessarily disagreed with what they had to say, but they disagreed with someone because they happened to have a D or an R affiliated with them. And that's unfortunate because when you're trying to solve problems and move the town forward, it's always better to focus on the issues at hand, look at alternatives for addressing those issues, and then by consensus vote on the best course of action based on the merits of the issues. I can tell you from the 12 years of experience on the Township Committee that there were so many times when I experienced personal attacks and had to bite my tongue at the dais to try to control what could become an out-of-hand situation. And there was so much needless effort focused on defending partisan attacks rather than paying attention to the issues and the merits of the conversation. So for those reasons, based on my personal experience, I think it's certainly worthy of considering a nonpartisan form of government. Do I think it's the magic answer to our problems? No, certainly not. Any of these forms of government that are under consideration are not magic solutions that will instantly change our town for the better or for the worse. But I think they all merit the attention that you're giving them. And I think that at the end of the day, the recommendations that you will make will help us to try to be a better Holmdel. And I'm really happy that the residents will be given the opportunity to vote on any recommendation that you may make. And I thank you for your service.
Thank you. I'm not sure, but I think we've gone around the whole room. So with respect to Kai, I think you want to rebut just for 30 seconds.
So I just wanted to put it on record. Kai Collins, 127 South Telegraph Hill Road. I want to keep the Township Committee form of government. The only reason I'm looking at the council manager is because it looks the same to me if I were to keep it partisan. So long as the parties exist, partisanship is here to stay. I mean, we know it's always gonna infiltrate its way. It's kind of like opting out of the curriculum. It's kind of creating this way for bullying and sideways attacks. So long as these parties exist, partisanship is gonna thrive. It's alive and well. So to move to nonpartisan, I'd almost wanna, do like 2 years worth of research, test it out before we actually move to that. I don't know if there's a way to backtrack and go back if it's not working, but I don't like the idea of partisanship, nonpartisan government. So if we went to council manager, my biggest concern would be broad authority to the manager, the appointed manager. So long as that doesn't happen, you know, I'm willing to consider it. It's that broad authority we got to come back to. So what is the difference between our township committee if we stay partisan and we don't give broad authority to a manager?
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
I think everybody has spoken. Does any of the commissioners want to say anything? Any? Okay. Hearing none, I will seek a motion and second to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
When do we get an answer to the questions that weren't answered? When do we get an answer to the questions that